Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jade Melody here, and today we are going to be covering some shoulder stability exercises. If you feel like you have really bad shoulder stability when you're holding your dumbbells, you're all over the place, you couldn't possibly imagine going into a handstand and stabilizing on your arms, or you're getting some type of pain in your shoulders, then there might be a little bit of stability issues within your shoulders. Oftentimes when we're trying to rehab shoulder pain, a lot of people purely just work on rotating their shoulders, which is all well and good, but if you have very little shoulder stability, those things probably aren't going to help. So today we're going to cover a bunch of exercises that you can be doing to improve your shoulder stability and in the long run improve your gains. So let's jump straight into this. Okay, so we're going to start off with an exercise here that you're going to need a kettlebell for. Now this one requires a lot of shoulder stability, but also a little bit of wrist stability too, so just keep that in mind. We're going to be holding a kettlebell upside down, so the handle facing down. And you're going to hold that in your hand. You can hold on to something to stabilize yourself if you need to. We're not really trying to focus on core stability here, trying to focus on shoulder stability. So if you want to hold on to a wall or something whilst you're doing this, you can. Now aim is for that elbow not to drop too much. Trying to keep that elbow in line with the shoulder. And here I'm trying to stabilize, keep everything really still. Notice that my back's not moving around too much. I'm not letting things kind of slide up and down. I'm literally trying to hold dead still. We're going to be doing one side at a time, so you can really focus on that stability just in one side. Again, keeping that elbow dead in line with that shoulder, don't let it drop too much, and really squeeze that kettlebell in the center and hold it strong. Again, stabilizing that back as well, not letting that elbow move out to the side, keeping it nice and tucked in front of your shoulder the whole time here. So you can just do that where you're just holding at the bottom and just controlling it, or if you're finding that really easy, we can start pressing the weight overhead. So this is now more kind of a single arm shoulder press. As we're holding that kettlebell upside down, you now have to stabilize a lot more. You can see my kettlebell kind of wibble wobbling ever so slightly as I'm trying to stabilize, but that is the whole kind of point. We're looking for it to be moving a little bit so that you're having to stabilize in that shoulder as you're driving up and down. So we are just simply going up to punch the ceiling and come back down. Again, we're trying to make sure we have nice smooth movement along our scapula as well, and making sure to do both sides. So on this one, think about that control the whole time. We're really trying not to rush these ones, trying to find that stability. Again, if you want to hold on to something, you can, or if you want to test your core strength, then you can try and stabilize in your core. And on this one at the bottom, do bring that elbow all the way down before driving back up. The next one is also going to be using a kettlebell, but you're going to need a long band, and we're going to be looping a band around our kettlebell. So simply tying underneath the kettlebell and then making a little bit of a knot by just looping the band through the hole and then making it nice and tight. So the stronger your band is, so the thicker the band, the easier this will become, and the more loose your band is, so the thinner the band, the harder it will become. So just keep that in mind as you're going through this one. And we are going to be doing exactly the same kind of pressing movement as the last one, but with this band. So if you watch here, I'm going to scoop the band up into the palm of my hand, so it's sitting on that nice squidgy palm. And all we're going for here is a big shoulder press. Again, very similar to what we just did, pressing up into the sky, core engaged, and we're trying to stabilize as we go. So main things we're thinking about here are power on the way up, slow the way back down. Because of the band and the kettlebell and etc., the way back down is going to be a lot of wobble from all the vibrations in the band and all of the movement with the band and the kettlebell trying to wobble around. So the whole point of this one is to be able to control all those vibrations, control all that movement, and not kind of let that shoulder give in on all that stabilization. So again, going for power on that way up and really controlled way down. So obviously you're going to be pressing the weight of the band alongside the weight of the kettlebell, so keep that in mind when you're picking a weight, and do think about getting a bit of power on that way up to really get a bit more vibration coming into that band. So I mentioned before that a lot of people work on rotation and not too much stability. This one is a little bit of both. So you're going to be sitting on a bench or the floor or a chair, popping your elbow onto your knee here. We're creating a 90-degree bend in that elbow, and we are going to be doing a bit of rotation. So we're going to be rotating the palm down to the floor and then rotating the knuckles backwards. Now the point of these rotations is to add a little pause at the bottom and add a little bit of a pause at the top as well at your end range of motion. Really focusing on that pause at the bottom, and that is when those stability muscles will really come into play. the weight's obviously going to want to try and pull you down to the floor. So pausing for a moment, stabilizing that weight, and then rotating backwards will combine more your rotation and your stability together. So instead of just focusing on the rotation, just flinging around and going really quickly, this will activate that rotation and the stability as well. So picking a light weight and just controlling each part of this movement, adding little pauses at the top and the bottom, and trying to rotate that arm back as far as you comfortably can in that position. Don't go too heavy on these, focus on the control first and foremost with this one. We then have a kind of similar rotation / stability movement. Now this one is starting to go into a little bit more strength based work and rotation at the same time, but it's still great. So we're going to kneel on the floor in front of some cables, and we're going to be holding a handle. This one again is 90-degree bend in that elbow. Elbow is going to be next to your shoulder, and we're going to be bending down and then rotating backwards, trying to pull the weight in the cable backwards. But we're not trying to let that elbow slip around too much. Notice my elbow stays in relatively the same position the whole time. You can watch it if you need to and double check that it's not moved too much. This one, trying to add a little pause at the back, because that's where it's really going to challenge. Now we're going to do the same thing on each side, but we're also going to do a different exercise, which is essentially the reverse. So this one is going to be the exact same, but facing away from the cable and pushing down and away from the cable. The other one, you're pulling the weight away from the cable. This one, I'm pushing the weight away from the cable. So slightly different strength required in this rotation. And this one, you're focusing more on the pause at the bottom. The last one, pause the top. This one, pausing at the bottom, trying to hold that weight down in that rotation for a second, and then slowly going back. Again, on the way back, control it. Try and control all those vibrations that are coming from the cable. And again, we will swap onto the other arm doing the exact same thing. So facing the cable first of all, pulling that elbow back to be in line with the shoulder, and then rotating backwards. This one, pause at the back, hold it for a second, and then slowly let it go down. Again, we're trying to keep that elbow lifted, keep it still, and also control the vibrations, which are going to be coming through that cable. Going to be wanting to shake around, going to be wanting to tug you back down. Try and control that position. We are then going to do same arm, but swapping, turning around, so facing away from the cable again, and then again rotating down. So this one, it's still same control, focusing on the pause at the bottom, and then slow that control back up, and try and keep yourself super balanced in that core as well, really hitting that rotation and also your control in each position. So again, focusing on rotation and stability all at the same time with this one. Next up, this one's kind of a bit more of a beginner stabilizing one, as you're a bit more stood up. So this one, we're going to be grabbing a stability ball, or a big kind of Russian Swiss ball, and we're putting the Swiss ball against the wall, going into a tall plank, so on the toes, and we're making little circles with one hand. So we're on the tiptoes here. Now, the more you're kind of in a plank position, the harder this one gets, and we're just going to go clockwise rotations and then anti-clockwise rotations. Again, the shoulder is trying to make those little circles whilst also stabilizing against that Swiss ball and not rolling around too much. There's going to be a lot of core control on this one as well, which is okay, but focusing on making a few circles clockwise and a few circles anti-clockwise. And then we also have a few floor exercises. These ones are unmatched for shoulder stability, often neglected. So first one we're going to start with is a little plank pass through. So you're having a weight on one side and you're literally going to grab it with the opposite hand and move it across. Now there's going to be a lot of core control in this one as well. So if you're struggling, you can take it into a bear position instead, and if you're struggling with that, then you can take it into a kneeling position instead. The exact same thing, and just passing through, trying to keep that core really stable. And if you're struggling with that position, then you can bring knees even closer just to a basic kind of all fours position. So you've got 4 options really for how difficult you want to make it. The aim is to be able to stabilize on that one arm as you move the weight across. Now we have similar things if you're struggling with moving a weight. We have plank kind of reaches. Again, you can do it in a high plank position, or you can bring your feet a little closer into a kind of bear crawl position, or again onto your knees, same thing. The aim is to really stabilize, take it slow and focus on slowly swapping between your arms, spending as long on one arm as you possibly can. And again, if you are struggling with that one, you can also do a shoulder tap position. So it's going to be the exact same kind of thing, but we're just tapping opposite arm, or opposite hand should I say, to opposite shoulder and just slowly swapping through. Again, aim is to do this slowly and to spend as long as possible on one arm at a time. And you have all those 4 options again for what pose you'd like to do it in. And that's it guys, those are the exact exercises you're going to need to improve your shoulder stability and in the long run improve your gains and prevent injuries as well. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already to see all my other videos just like this. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.